Have you ever felt like there's something greater you're meant to do? Do you sense a divine pull on your life? Even if you don't fully understand it yet? Throughout history, God has chosen ordinary people for extraordinary purposes. But before stepping into their calling, they often experience certain unmistakable signs, challenges, divine encounters, or an unshakable inner fire. The Bible is full of stories where God's chosen ones didn't always feel ready, yet He equipped them for greatness. Think of Moses, who doubted his ability to lead, David, who was overlooked before becoming king, and Esther, who was placed in a royal position for such a time as this, Esther 4 verse 14. If you've been wondering whether God has a special purpose for your life, pay attention to these 7 signs. They could be His way of preparing you for something powerful. Let's explore them together, with scriptures to guide us. 1. You experience unusual trials and challenges. James 1 verses 2 to 4. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. One of the clearest signs that God has chosen you for something great is that your life is filled with intense trials and challenges. These are not ordinary struggles. They often feel overwhelming, unfair, and relentless. But here's the truth. God allows these trials not to break you, but to shape you. Biblical examples of trials before greatness. Joseph, betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and wrongfully imprisoned before becoming the second in command of Egypt, Genesis 37-50. Moses, faced rejection, exile, and self-doubt before leading Israel out of Egypt, Exodus 3-14. David, anointed as king but spent years running from King Saul's attempts to kill him before taking the throne, 1 Samuel 16-31. Why does God allow these challenges? To refine your character. Trials purify you and prepare you for greater responsibility. To strengthen your faith. Without hardship, you may never learn to fully trust in God. To make you an overcomer. Greatness requires resilience, and God builds it through challenges. Are you facing trials that seem impossible? Instead of asking, why me? Ask, God, what are you preparing me for? If you're going through a tough season, rejoice. God is preparing you for something greater than you can imagine. Encouragement. Hold on. Your trials are not a sign of rejection, but of preparation. Keep the faith, because your breakthrough is coming. 2. You have a deep inner restlessness for more. Jeremiah 20 verse 9. But if I say, I will not mention His word or speak any more in His name, His word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bones. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot. Have you ever felt an unshakable urge that there's more to life than what you're currently experiencing? A sense that you were created for something bigger, something greater? This deep inner restlessness is often a sign that God has chosen you for a special purpose. Biblical examples of divine restlessness. Moses, though raised in Pharaoh's palace, he couldn't ignore the suffering of his people, the Israelites, Exodus 2 verses 11 to 12. That unrest led him to become their deliverer. Nehemiah. He was comfortably serving as a cupbearer to the king, but his heart burned with grief for the ruined walls of Jerusalem. This burden pushed him into his divine assignment. Nehemiah 1 verses 3 to 4. Paul Saul. Before his encounter with Jesus, he was restless, persecuting Christians. After his transformation, that same fire drove him to spread the gospel to the ends of the earth. Acts 9. What does this restlessness look like? A constant desire for more, even when everything seems fine in your life. Feeling unfulfilled in worldly success, knowing there's a higher calling. A pull towards something bigger, a cause, a mission, or a purpose you can't ignore. A holy dissatisfaction with the status quo, pushing you to seek God's plan. Why does God give you this restlessness? To awaken your purpose. He's stirring you to move toward your calling, to push you out of your comfort zone. God doesn't call us to stay in places where we are comfortable, but to grow into who He created us to be, to draw you closer to Him. Your longing for more is meant to lead you to seek His presence and direction. Do you feel a fire inside that refuses to go away? Have you been longing for something greater, but don't know what it is? That's not just ambition. It could be God calling you to step into your divine assignment. Don't ignore the restlessness. Lean into it. Seek God in prayer and ask Him to reveal His plan for you. Something great is coming. 3. Doors open supernaturally. Revelation 3 verse 8. I know your deeds. See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. I know that you have little strength, yet you have kept my word and have not denied my name. When God chooses you for something great, He often makes a way where there seems to be no way. Opportunities arise unexpectedly. Connections happen effortlessly, and resources come when you least expect them. These open doors are not coincidences. They are divine alignments. Biblical examples of supernatural open doors. Joseph. From the prison to the palace in a single day, God orchestrated his meeting with Pharaoh, which changed his destiny. Genesis 41 verse 14. Esther, she was an orphan, but God positioned her to become queen and save an entire nation. Esther 2:17-14. Peter, after toiling all night with no success, Jesus told him to cast his net again. The miraculous catch was so big that his boat almost sank. Luke 5 verses 4-6. Signs that God is opening doors for you. You receive opportunities you didn't seek. Unexpected promotions, divine connections, or favor in places where you have no influence. You experience unusual favor. People help you without knowing why, and things fall into place effortlessly. Obstacles miraculously disappear. What seemed impossible suddenly becomes possible. God places the right people in your path to guide and support you. Why does God open doors supernaturally? To position you for His purpose. God moves things in your favor when you align with His will. To glorify His name. When things happen that only He could have arranged, it becomes a testimony of His power. To accelerate your assignment. Some breakthroughs would take years if done in human strength, but God speeds up the process. Have doors been opening for you unexpectedly? Have you been receiving favor in places where you least expected it? These are signs that God is preparing you for something bigger. Don't hesitate to step through the doors God is opening. Walk in faith, trust in His timing, and get ready for the next level. 4. You face unusual opposition and attacks. 1 Peter 5 verse 8. Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. One of the clearest signs that God has chosen you for something great is the intense opposition you face. When God places a calling on your life, the enemy will do everything possible to stop you. Attacks come in different forms. Spiritual warfare, betrayals, false accusations, delays, or even personal doubts and fears. But take heart. The very fact that you are facing opposition means that you are a threat to the kingdom of darkness. Biblical examples of opposition before greatness. Jesus. Before stepping into His public ministry, Jesus faced direct attacks from Satan in the wilderness. Matthew 4 verses 1-11. Nehemiah. As he rebuilt Jerusalem's walls, enemies like Sanballat and Tobiah tried to discourage, mock, and attack him. Nehemiah 4 verses 1-3. Paul. After his conversion, he faced imprisonment, beatings, shipwrecks, and constant opposition. 2 Corinthians 11 verses 23-27. Signs that your opposition is a spiritual attack. Unusual delays and obstacles whenever you take steps toward your calling. Sudden betrayals and attacks from people you trusted. Feelings of fear, doubt, or discouragement try to keep you from moving forward. Intense spiritual warfare, such as unusual nightmares, anxiety, or distractions when you try to pray or grow spiritually. Why does God allow opposition? To strengthen your faith. Opposition forces you to depend on God. To test your perseverance. Many give up too soon, but those who endure see God's promises fulfilled. To confirm your calling. If the enemy is fighting you so hard, it means there is something valuable in your destiny. Are you facing opposition right now? Instead of being discouraged, recognize it as a sign that you are on the right path. The enemy wouldn't attack if you weren't a threat. Stand firm, pray, and keep moving forward. The attacks are proof that something great is ahead. Victory belongs to those who don't quit. 5. You have a unique ability to influence and inspire others. Matthew 5 verses 14-16. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. One of the undeniable signs that God has chosen you for something great is that people are naturally drawn to you. Whether through your words, actions, or presence, you inspire others to become better. You may not even recognize it, but people seek your advice, look up to you, or are moved by your passion for what you do. This influence is not by accident. It is a divine assignment. Biblical examples of people with divine influence. Moses. Though reluctant at first, he became a leader who guided an entire nation to freedom. Exodus 3 verses 10 to 12. Esther. A young woman with no status became a queen whose courage saved her people. Esther 4 verses 14 to 16. Jesus. Everywhere he went, crowds followed him, drawn by his wisdom, compassion, and power. Matthew 9 verse 36. Signs that you have a God-given influence. People often seek your guidance or encouragement, even when you don't feel qualified. You naturally bring people together and create positive change in your community, workplace, or church. Your words or actions inspire others to take steps toward their own purpose. You feel a burden for others and a desire to help them grow. Why does God give you influence? To be a light in the world. Your influence is meant to lead others closer to God, to fulfill your purpose. Influence is not about power. It is about making a kingdom impact, to be a voice for the voiceless. God places his people in strategic positions to stand for truth and justice. Have you noticed that people naturally listen to you, follow your lead, or seek your advice? This is not a coincidence. It is a sign that God has set you apart for something greater. Don't hide your light. Step boldly into the influence God has given you and use it for his glory. Your voice, leadership, and presence matter. 6. You have an unshakable faith even in difficult times. James 1 verses 2 to 4. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. One of the strongest signs that God has chosen you for something great is that no matter what trials come your way, your faith remains firm. Even in the midst of storms, disappointments, and hardships, you continue to trust God. This kind of faith is not ordinary. It is a divine gift that equips you to fulfill your calling. Biblical examples of unshakable faith. Job. Even after losing everything, his wealth, children, and health, he refused to curse God and remained faithful. Job 1 verses 20 to 22. Abraham. Despite waiting decades for the promise of a son, he did not waver in faith and was called the father of many nations. Romans 4 verses 18 to 21. Paul and Silas. They were beaten and imprisoned, yet they worshiped God in the prison cell, and he miraculously set them free. Acts 16 verses 25 to 26. Signs that you have unshakable faith. You trust God even when things don't make sense. You refuse to give up on God's promises, no matter how long they take. You have peace in the storm, knowing that God is in control. Your faith inspires others to stay strong in their own trials. Why does God allow your faith to be tested? To prepare you for greater assignments. God cannot entrust you with big things if your faith is weak. To make you spiritually mature. Faith grows stronger when tested, just like muscles grow through resistance. To be a testimony to others. Your unwavering faith will encourage others to trust God. Have you been through trials that should have broken you, but instead they strengthen your faith? That is a sign that God has chosen you for something great. Stay strong, keep believing, and never let go of God's promises. Your faith will open doors, bring miracles, and inspire generations. 7. You feel a deep compassion to help others. Matthew 25 verses 35 to 36. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. One of the clearest signs that God has chosen you for something great is the deep compassion you feel for others. You cannot turn a blind eye to suffering. You feel a strong urge to help, encourage, or lift others up. This is not just kindness. It is a divine calling. God places his burden in the hearts of those he wants to use to bring change, healing, and restoration. Biblical examples of compassionate servants of God. Moses, he was moved by the suffering of his people and led them out of slavery. Exodus 3 verses 7-10. Jesus, his entire ministry was marked by compassion, healing the sick, feeding the hungry, and teaching the lost. Matthew 9 verse 36. The Good Samaritan, he stopped to help a wounded stranger when others ignored him. Luke 10 verses 30-37. Signs that God has given you a heart of compassion. You feel burdened by the pain of others and want to do something about it. You naturally help encourage or uplift people without expecting anything in return. You find joy in serving and giving, whether it's through time, resources, or words of encouragement. You feel drawn to ministries, missions, or causes that bring relief and hope to people. Why does God give you compassion? To reflect His love. Compassion is the heart of God, and He works through you to touch lives. To be a vessel of change. Many people are waiting for someone to show them God's love, to position you for greater assignments. The more you serve, the more God entrusts you with. Do you often feel a deep concern for the needs of others? Do you find yourself compelled to help, encourage, or support people? That's a sign that God has chosen you for something greater. Never ignore the compassion in your heart. It's a divine gift. Let God use you to bring light, hope, and healing to those around you. Your kindness has the power to transform lives. God does not randomly choose people. He marks those who are set apart for His divine purpose. If you have seen these 7 signs in your life, unusual trials, deep restlessness, supernatural opportunities, opposition, influence, unshakable faith, and compassion, then it is time to embrace your calling. You are not ordinary. God has chosen you for something greater than yourself. Jeremiah 1 verse 5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. Whatever God has placed in your heart, don't ignore it. The challenges you face are not to destroy you, but to shape you. The deep yearning in your soul is God stirring you toward your destiny. The supernatural open doors, the opposition, and your ability to influence others are all proof that you are chosen. What should you do next? Pray for guidance. Ask God to reveal the next steps in your journey. James 1 verse 5. Take bold steps of faith. Step out of your comfort zone and trust God's plan. Joshua 1 verse 9. Surround yourself with godly influences. Find mentors, leaders, and friends who will support your purpose. Proverbs 27 verse 17. Use your gifts to serve others. Whether in ministry, business, or everyday life, let your life glorify God. Colossians 3 verse 23. Are you ready to walk in your God-given purpose? Don't wait for the perfect moment. Start now. Share this message with someone who needs to hear it, and take a step of faith toward what God is calling you to do. Comment below, which of these signs have you seen in your own life? Let's encourage one another. Remember, you are chosen, you are called, and your destiny is greater than you can imagine. Step boldly into God's plan for your life. God bless you, and see you in the next video.